I never thought I'd find myself in a situation like this, but here I am trying to put it all into words. My name's Dave, and I married Lisa about 5 years ago. She was always the fiery, bitchy type, quick with a sarcastic comment, sharp-tongued when she didn't get her way, but I loved her anyway. Or at least I thought I did. Things had been feeling off for a while now, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it. She'd come home late from work more often, and her phone was glued to her hand like it was her lifeline. I figured she was just stressed, maybe over her job, which she always claimed she loved. Though she was the boss's favorite, so she had a lot of late nights and work events, she insisted I shouldn't worry about. At first, I tried to ignore it. I told myself it was just work, that maybe she was trying to climb the ladder, that she was out there busting her ass to give us a better life. But then little things started stacking up. Her phone always on silent, her changing her passwords, her brushing off my questions with a bitchy attitude. She'd get defensive if I asked where she'd been, quick to dismiss me with a sharp comment or a fake laugh. I knew she was hiding something, but I didn't want to believe it was anything serious. I mean, she's my wife. She's supposed to be faithful, right? But one night everything changed. It was a Thursday and Lisa was supposed to be at some conference out of town. She had packed her bag, kissed me goodbye with her usual sass, and said she'd be back late Saturday. I didn't think much of it at first, just another business trip. But that night I decided to do something I normally wouldn't. I grabbed her purse while she was in the bathroom. I know that sounds creepy, but I was just curious. I wasn't snooping to invade her privacy, I told myself. I just wanted to see if there was anything I should know. I wasn't prepared for what I found. Inside her purse, stuffed between her makeup and some receipts, I found hotel receipts. Not just one, but several from different places. Not the kind of receipts you get from a business hotel for a night or two. These were from luxury hotels, places I'd never heard of her mentioning. Some of them were from the same hotel chain, just different cities, and all within the last couple of months. My stomach sank. I looked at the dates, and they all lined up with her supposed late work nights or conferences. The receipts were paid in cash, and no explanation from her could ever match the physical evidence. I sat there, stunned. How could she do this? I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. All those nights I thought she was working late, all those missed dinners, the excuses about client dinners and important meetings, they were lies. She was cheating on me. And from the way she lied about everything, I could tell this wasn't some one-time thing. It was months, maybe longer. That's when I realized the woman I married, the woman I thought I knew, had been lying to my face the entire time. I didn't even know what to do with myself after that. I just sat there staring at those receipts, feeling angry, betrayed, and completely humiliated. I knew I had to confront her. The question was how. I wasn't even sure what I wanted to say, or if I could even get the words out without losing it. But I also knew I couldn't keep this secret inside. It was eating me up. I decided I'd wait until she got back, but I knew, deep down, everything had changed. I didn't look at her the same way anymore. I could see the bitchiness, the manipulative sneer she always threw my way, and now I saw a different side. A woman capable of constant lying, of keeping a secret life from the man she supposedly loved. That was the moment I realized I needed to know the truth, no matter how ugly it was. When Lisa finally walked through the door that Saturday evening, I was already tense as hell. She looked tired, her eyes a little too bright, and there was that slight smirk she always had when she thought she was getting away with something. I didn't say anything right away. I just watched her unload her carry-on, trying to keep my composure. She threw her arms around me, acting like everything was normal, like she hadn't been sleeping with her boss, Mark, for months. I could feel the fake sweetness in her hug, the way she looked at me with that dismissive attitude like I was some sort of inconvenience. I had to get it out, so I looked her straight in the eye and said, "Lisa, I found something today, something that changes everything." Her face immediately shifted. That bitchy smirk faded for a second, replaced by a kind of defiant glare. She blinked, then said, "What are you talking about? You're imagining things. I've been working my ass off and you think I'd cheat on you." Her voice was sharp, her tone defensive, but I was done pretending I didn't have the evidence. I pulled out the receipts from my pocket and her eyes widened just for a split second. She scoffed, trying to brush it off. Those receipts, oh those, yeah, I stayed at some hotels after work. Big deal, I was tired and I didn't want to come home right away. It's not like I was cheating, Dave, you're blowing this out of proportion. Her words felt like knives. I could see the lie in her eyes and her tone was so dismissive, like she thought I was an idiot. But I wasn't buying it. I looked at her with a mix of fury and heartbreak, not knowing what to say next. Really, because those receipts from the hotel chain, they're from luxury places, Lisa. Places you told me you were working late at the office. How do you explain that? I kept my voice calm, but inside I was boiling. She rolled her eyes, scoffing again. You're being paranoid. You always think I'm up to something. Maybe you're the one with secrets, huh? Maybe I caught you looking through my stuff. She was trying to turn it around, as usual, deflecting, shifting blame onto me. But I knew better. I knew she had been lying for months and this wasn't some innocent mistake. Her face was contorted in anger now. You want to know the truth? Fine. Yeah, I've been working late, so what? Mark's a good guy and he's been there for me. I don't see what the big deal is. I know you're jealous and you don't like the fact that I have a life outside of your boring ass. Honestly, I'm sick of pretending everything's perfect while you sit here paranoid all the time. Maybe I deserve better than this, Dave. Her words hit me like a punch and I felt my fists clenching. That's when I realized just how much hatred had built up underneath her fake bravado. She hated me and she was just using me as a fallback. I wanted to scream, but I held it back. I just told her, you lied to me about everything. All those nights I thought you were working, you were sleeping with your boss. How do you even look at yourself in the mirror? She sneered at me, her voice dripping with contempt. You're so naive. I never loved you, Dave. I stayed because I got comfortable and honestly I didn't think you'd ever find out. Well, congratulations, you did. Now what are you gonna do? That's when I knew the trust was shattered completely. The woman I married had been playing me for a fool and I was just supposed to accept it. That night everything changed. I couldn't sleep. My mind was racing, trying to process the betrayal, the lies, the sheer audacity of her. I felt humiliated, angry, and unbelievably sad. For the first time in years, I realized I was alone in this. Marriage, completely alone. I sat on the couch, staring at those receipts, knowing that my entire life had been a lie. I didn't know what to do next, but I knew that whatever happened, I'd never look at her the same way again. This was the moment I understood that I had been played and now I had to figure out how to move forward. The days that followed were a blur. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep properly. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her smug face, that look of pure contempt she threw at me when I confronted her. I felt so betrayed, like my whole life had been built on lies. I kept asking myself how I missed the signs, how I didn't see through her bullshit earlier. But deep down, I knew I had to do something, or this would eat me alive. I had to get revenge, not necessarily in some violent way, but enough to make her feel what it was like to be lied to and cheated on, to see her face fall when she realized I knew everything. I started by digging into her phone. It wasn't easy. I had to be sneaky, but I knew her passcode from a few times she'd accidentally left it unlocked. When I looked through her texts, I found more than I expected. There were messages between her and Mark, flirty, suggestive messages, pictures of them together in hotel rooms, even plans to meet up again. She tried to hide it, but the truth was right there. It was more than just sex. It was a full-blown affair, and she didn't care who knew. Her tone in those messages was cold, dismissive, like she was just using Mark for her own pleasure and convenience. I felt a rush of rage. How could she treat me like this? I'd been loyal, honest, and she just tossed that all aside for some meaningless sex with her boss. I thought about the nights I stayed up worrying, about the missed anniversaries, the birthdays, the small moments she dismissed as work stress. All of it was a lie. And now I knew who she really was. A selfish, manipulative bitch who lied and cheated her way through our marriage without a second thought. But even with all this evidence, I didn't want to just blow up and yell at her. I knew I needed to play it smart. I started planning my revenge, not in some childish way, but a calculated move that would hit her where it hurt. If she thought she was clever, I'd show her I was 10 times smarter. I began talking to some of her coworkers, friends she trusted, digging for more dirt. I wanted to understand her patterns, her habits, figure out what she liked, and how she thought she could get away with this. I needed leverage, something that would make her see I wasn't some naive fool anymore. One night I came across an email she'd forgotten to delete. It was from Mark, congratulating her on a great weekend and talking about how excited they were for their next rendezvous. That was the final nail. I printed out everything, screenshots, messages, receipts, and I knew this wasn't just about catching her in a lie anymore. This was about exposing her for who she really was. If she thought she was going to walk all over me, she had another thing coming. I was going to make sure she paid the price in ways she'd never expect. I didn't plan to confront her just yet. No, I needed to be patient. I wanted her to realize I knew everything, that I had the proof that would shatter her carefully constructed lies. I wanted her to feel the panic, the guilt, the shame. I was going to turn the tables, make her see that I was no longer the naive husband she'd been fooling for months. I was already plotting my next move, and I knew it was going to be dirty, calculated, and painful for her. Because if she thought she could cheat and lie, I was going to make sure she regretted every moment of it. The moment I decided to confront her, I knew I had to be smart about it. No yelling, no shouting, just calm, cold, calculated. I wanted her to know that I was serious, that I'd uncovered everything, and that I wasn't going to let her get away with it. So I waited until she was alone in the apartment, pretending everything was normal, like she still had control. I sat her down, showed her the screenshots, the receipts, all of it laid out right in front of her. Her reaction was priceless. She went from that bitchy smirk to a look of pure panic in seconds. Her face drained of color and her eyes darted around like she was trying to find an escape route. She was trying to deny it at first, saying it was all a mistake, that she didn't mean for it to happen, that Mark was just a fling, and that I was overreacting. But I just kept calmly showing her the proof, every message, every hotel receipt. Her excuses fell apart faster than she could spin them. "Lisa," I said, voice steady but cold, "you've been lying to me for months. You've been sleeping with your boss, Mark, and all those nights you said you were at work, you were with him, weren't you?" She blinked hard, then snapped back. "You don't understand, it's not what it looks like. Mark been a damn good friend, and I needed someone, I was lonely. You never paid attention to me anymore. I was just looking for some comfort, that's all." Her voice cracked, but it was full of lies. I saw right through her. I leaned in closer. "Comfort? You've been fucking him, Lisa. Don't lie anymore. I've got the receipts, the texts. You've been cheating on me and you're trying to make me the bad guy." Her eyes narrowed. "You think I wanted to do this? I didn't, it just happened. I was weak and Mark made me feel alive again. You're so clueless, Dave. You're boring. You work all the time and you never listen. I needed excitement. I needed sex. And I found it with him." She spat those words out like venom, thinking she was making herself look like some kind of victim, but I wasn't falling for it. I'd heard enough. I told her, "You're a liar, Lisa. You lied about everything from your late nights to your conference trips. You're nothing but a manipulative, selfish bitch, and I'm done. I want you out of my life." She looked at me with that sneer, furious and trembling at the same time. The mask was finally slipping and the real her was showing, bitchy, cold, and ruthless. I knew this wasn't over, but I also knew I'd finally taken control. That night, she packed her things and left. She screamed, called me names, said I was crazy, but I didn't care. I felt a bizarre sense of relief, even if it was overshadowed by heartbreak and anger. I watched her walk out the door, and for the first time in years I felt like I was finally free. The betrayal cut deep, but at least now I knew the truth. I'd catch her, expose her, and move on. I'd rebuild what she tried to destroy, one step at a time. But damn, it hurt. It hurt like hell to realize the woman I loved was that much of a liar and a traitor. That kind of betrayal leaves scars, but I knew I'd survive. Somehow. After she left, I was left standing there in the silence, feeling like my world had shattered into a million pieces. I sat on the couch, staring at the door she just walked out of, and for a long time I couldn't breathe properly. My mind kept replaying every moment, her sneering face when I confronted her, the lies she told, the way she dismissed my feelings like I was nothing. I'd been blindsided, completely blindsided, and honestly I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. But the worst part wasn't just the betrayal. It was the realization that I'd invested so much. into this marriage, and she'd just thrown it away for some fleeting affair with her boss, Mark. That name kept echoing in my head like a curse. I remembered the way she used to talk about him, the way she flirted with him at work, the secret little smiles she'd hide. It was all so clear now. For months I'd been living in her lie, working hard, trying to fix things, while she was secretly screwing her boss behind my back. That realization made my stomach churn. I knew I couldn't just sit and mope forever. I had to do something. I started planning my next move. I wanted to make her regret every second she spent lying and cheating. I wanted her to feel some of the pain I was feeling right now, like a taste of what she'd done to me. So I gathered everything I had, screenshots, emails, the hotel receipts, and I started thinking about how to use this all. I wasn't just going to confront her again. I wanted to make her see that I wasn't some naive fool anymore, that I was capable of doing just as much damage as she did. I decided to go public, but not in some childish way. I wanted her to know I had all the proof, that I'd expose her to everyone she cared about, their friends, her coworkers, anyone who'd listen. I knew she loved her reputation, her image as the successful, confident woman. I was going to strip that away piece by piece. I created a plan to send the evidence to her boss, Mark, and some of her colleagues, letting them all know that I wasn't blind, that I knew her true nature. I was going to make her see that there's no hiding from the truth. But more than that, I knew I had to heal myself. I had to find a way to move on, even if it didn't seem possible right now. I started seeing a therapist, talking it out, trying to process the betrayal without losing my mind. I realized that I'd been emotionally invested in her for so long that I'd forgotten about myself. I'd let her manipulate me, lie to my face, and I'd still felt trapped until now. This was my moment to take control, to rebuild my life from the ruins she left behind. Honestly, I don't know where I'll go from here, but I do know one thing. I'm done being naive. I'm done being the guy who gets played and left in the dust. Lisa might have thought she could cheat and get away with it, but I'm not that guy anymore. I've learned a hard lesson about trust, betrayal, and how far some people will go when they think they can get away with it. And I'll make sure she regrets every second she threw away a marriage that could have been something real. Now, I just have to figure out how to pick up the pieces and move on, without her. In the days that followed, I threw myself into rebuilding my life. It wasn't easy. Everywhere I looked, there was a reminder of what I lost, of the betrayal that cut so deep I thought I'd never recover. But I also felt a strange sense of liberation. For so long, I had been the naive husband, trusting blindly, ignoring the signs until it was too late. Now I saw things more clearly. Lisa was never the woman I thought she was. She was selfish, manipulative, and willing to throw away everything we built just for a few moments of excitement. With her boss, I made the decision to cut her out completely. No contact, no explanations, just a clean break. I started focusing on myself, reconnecting with friends, hitting the gym, and finding new hobbies. I realized how much of my life I'd sacrificed to keep her happy, and I promised myself I wouldn't live like that anymore. I deserved better. I deserved someone who wouldn't lie, cheat, or manipulate me. Looking back, I've learned some harsh truths. Trust is fragile, and sometimes love isn't enough to hold things together. People can surprise you in the worst ways. And sometimes, the only way to truly move on is to face the pain head-on, accept it, and let it go. I don't regret uncovering the truth. I regret the years I wasted thinking I was happy when I was just blind to what was happening right under my nose. To anyone out there dealing with betrayal, I'll say this: be honest with yourself. Don't ignore the signs, no matter how uncomfortable they make you. Confront the truth, even if it's ugly, because living in a lie only prolongs the pain. And when you finally find the courage to face it, you'll realize that you're stronger than you ever thought. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know one thing: I'm done with her. I've learned to value myself again, and I refuse to let anyone treat me like I'm disposable. It's a painful lesson, but it's also a necessary one. Sometimes you have to lose everything to find out who you really are. And honestly, I'm just glad I woke up before I lost myself completely. That's all I can say now. Moving forward, I'll do better. I'll be better. And I hope everyone else out there who's been betrayed finds the strength to do the same.